Hope you all doing well. I think after long time in 1 week between various classes. Okay. I'm sharing the PPT. Once you are able to see the presentation, just say yes in chat so that we can start the class. Hope you should see. Okay, thank you. Okay, for general sanity check, please mute yourself. If you have any questions, you can text in chat box so that we can address in appropriate time. And this is the third session in chemical safety. So previously we were discussed about different types of hazards with respect to safety, need of safety for the chemical, and also need of chemicals in our day-to-day activities. And we also seen about the material safety data sheet and various sections, and also we have seen the interpretation. Interpretation means we try to understand different terminologies in MS-DS. Yeah. Today we're trying to cover some more topics with respect to handling of various forms of chemicals. Those are liquids, solids, and gases. How we can handle. అంటే ప్రీవియస్ గా మనం చెప్పుకున్న దాంట్లో కూడా కెమికల్స్ వాటి యొక్క సేఫ్టీ రిక్వైర్మెంట్స్, కెమికల్స్ మన జీవితంలో ఎలా భాగస్వాములు ఉన్నాయి. సో డే స్టార్టింగ్ నుంచి టు ఎండ్ వరకు. సో అదేవిధంగా మనం ఎంఎస్డిఎస్ గురించి కూడా చెప్పుకున్నాము. ఎంఎస్డిఎస్ లో ఉండే డిఫరెంట్ సెక్షన్స్ గురించి కూడా మనం మాట్లాడుతున్నాం. స్టార్టింగ్ విత్ టుడేస్ క్లాస్ with the flammable gases. So what are the flammable gases? Anybody can help me in texting in chat box. What are the various flammable gases? You know. Okay. Gases are generally contained in cylinders in a compressed liquid or dissolved state. Or flammable gases will cause a fire hazard when they leak or escape from their containers. So gas in the sense it should not be kept in a room. It should not be kept in a bottle. So definitely it will be in a cylinders, or if it is in a volume is very big, we people used to call as bullets or the bigger size ones. So because they are compressed, then it is become a liquid. So if you see generally in our houses also, we'll have LPG cylinders. So what we have, it is also a compressed gas. It will be in the form of a liquid. If it touches the bottom of the cylinder, it will be very cold. Very cold, and it's not so cold. Generally, you feel this in cold condition because of it is compressed. But while using it, it comes in a gaseous form. Okay. They'll keep that certain space for that evaporation, so it will come in the form of gas. Yes, butane, propane, LPG, yes, all these are flammable gases. So it is on to, or it is cause in the sense potential to fire hazard. అంటే ఏంటి, ఈ గ్యాసెస్ వల్ల మనకి ఫైర్ హజార్డ్ జరిగే ఆర్ ఫైర్ యాక్సిడెంట్ జరిగే ప్రమాదం అనేది ఎక్కువగా ఉంటుంది. Also, when gas is subjected to the high pressure, it could burst, and also container will uh, with a serious consequences. If any gas cylinder it is involved in fire, what will happen? Because of external heat, what will happen? It will get expanded inside the cylinder. Due to the expansion ratio, the cylinder is not capable to hold such a volume of the gas. It will explode whenever it will have a weak portion, because it is already welded. If it is found any weak portion in the cylinder, it will explode. If it explodes, what will happen? Being it is made out of metal, it will hit very hard. Nearby buildings or people are there, they will be resulting into, or they'll be end up with serious injuries. In handling storage, it must be ensured that the cylinders are protected from the damage or deterioration, and also heat. Some of the precautions we'll see in the below. So while handling, what we have done, we have to handle it properly. Deterioration in the sense, the condition of the cylinders, or degradation, the quality of the cylinder, weld joints. Sometimes what will happen, people used to drag the cylinders over a time. Because of dragging, what will happen, the thickness of the cylinder will reduce, resulting it become weak. In case of any situation comes, the gas can escape or it can explode the weaker part. The cylinder should not be dropped, dragged, rolled on their side, or permitted to strike one another or other surface violently. So we should not drag, we should not drop. If you see a dragging, you could see especially in the industrial side, wherever you see in the construction site, they used to drag the cylinders, industrial gas cylinders. If you see a drop, this dropping activity happens with the domestic gas cylinders, which are LPG. So if you see a LPG delivery boy, they used to drop the cylinders from the vehicle to the surface. Either may be a soil, either may be a concrete, or either may be a road or a stone area. So they used to drop it. If it is a drop, what will happen? Already it is pressurized. In case of any drop, if the cylinder valve or any weak portion is there in the cylinder, what will happen? It will get explode. Or some people, you see, especially the people who sells the food in the streets, they used to roll, even the delivery people also, they used to roll the cylinders on the roads. If you see such kind of situation, you try to explain them. Practically, it is not possible. They won't listen us. But as a responsible citizen, we can suggest them, "Arey Baba, aisa isko handle nahi karna, ye katra hai." It is not like a empty tire which we used to play when we are in child age. We used to have a tire with having a stick on our hand. It's not like that. It is in a it's like a small kind of a bomb. It can explode. So we should not roll, we should not drag, we should not drop. అంటే ఏంటి, మనం వీటిని డ్రాగ్ చేయొచ్చు, అంటే ఈడ్చుకుంటూ పోకూడదు, మనము విసిరేయకూడదు దీన్ని అదే విధంగా దీన్ని రోల్ కూడా చేయకూడదు. అపార్ట్ ఫ్రమ్ దట్, వీ షుడ్ నాట్ స్ట్రైక్ ఆన్ ఈచ్ అదర్. వీ షుడ్ నాట్ అలౌ దెమ్ టు స్ట్రైక్, అంటే ఒకదాన్ని ఒకటి కొట్టుకునే విధంగా చేయడము, లేదంటే అదర్ సర్ఫేసెస్, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ గట్టిగా విసిరేయడం వల్ల అది గోడ కొట్టుకోవడం, లేదంటే ఇంకొక దాన్ని కొట్టుకోవడం. వీ షుడ్ నాట్ అలౌ దెమ్ టు స్ట్రైక్ with the other cylinder or any other surface. And when removable caps are provided on the valve protection, such caps should be placed at all the times and expect when cylinders are in use. It is safer to use a suitable trucks to move them, even though shorter distances. One is the industrial cylinders will have a valve cap on the valve. So unless the cylinder is in using, it should always equipped with that valve cap. And also, it is good to have a suitable equipments, I can say trucks or trolley, any other handling equipments for proper handling, even though shorter distance. అంటే దానికి తగునటువంటి సూటబుల్ ట్రక్స్ కానీ ట్రాలీస్ కానీ లేదంటే బాస్కెట్స్ కానీ యూజ్ చేసి వీటిని ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేయాలి ఒక చోట నుంచి ఇంకొక చోట. And they must not be lifted by their cap or with the aid of any rope or any chain link. A safe cradle or a platform with a guardrails should be used for the purpose. And cylinder should not be used as a roller or a supporter for any purposes other than to contain the contents as received. So other precautions. We should not try to lift by the cap. We should not try to lift by applying a rope so that there will be a high chance of slip rate. And we should have proper cradle in the sense, it should have a proper mechanism to hold it and should have proper rails. Or in generally we used to have the trolleys with a chain. So those also can be used for shifting. And also we should not use these cylinders for any other purposes, like to give as a support or to put underneath of any weight as a, we should add a roller, etc. And the storage room for the cylinder should be dry, cool, and also well ventilated, and where the practical threshold be for the fire resistance of construction and the highly flammable solvents or combustible waste materials, corrosives and cylinders of oxygen should not be stored near the cylinders containing flammable gases. సో వేరెవర్ యూఆర్ స్టోరింగ్ అంటే ఎక్కడైతే మనం స్టోర్ చేస్తున్నామో అదంతా కూడా డ్రైగా కూల్గా వెల్ వెంటిలేటెడ్ అంటే ప్రాపర్గా గాలి అనేది వస్తూ పోతూ ఉండాలి. సో దట్ ఏంటంటే ఇన్ కేస్ ఆఫ్ ఎనీ లీకేజెస్ మైనర్ లీకేజెస్ హ్యాపెన్స్ ఇట్ విల్ గెట్ డైల్యూటెడ్. అంటే చిన్న చిన్న లీకేజెస్ ఉంటే అది అక్కడే ఎక్యుములేట్ అవ్వకుండా డైల్యూట్ అయిపోయేదానికి ఛాన్స్ ఉంటుంది. Highly flammable solvents in combustibles materials we should not store. Corrosives, any other materials you should not store in the storage area. Sorry. Yeah. In outdoor locations, they should be kept off on the ground on a raised concrete pad or any non-combustible rack, or sheltered from the sun by means of any non-combustible canopy. So if you are keeping it outside, it should have proper shade, and also not on the ground. It should have proper concrete floor so that it will not get rusted. Then we'll see about the solids. We learned about gases. Now we'll see how solids should be handled. A large variety of solid materials used in industries and at the other places present a fire risk, or flammable solid materials become particularly hazardous under certain conditions. So these solid materials become hazardous in certain conditions. It is not hazardous all the time. Only if specific conditions come across, then only it will become hazardous. For example, if a human being is not always danger. When he is danger, when he becomes angry only, the human behaves like an animal. So the condition is angry. Whenever he gets angry, he behaves like animal. So some process of ability being easily ignited by the external sources such as sparks and flame or some other liable to heat spontaneously and ignite, and the contains material have to property of releasing flammable gases when in contact with the water. So there are other conditions. One is if you are applying any pressure or any flammable spark or flame is available nearby, or some of them may ignite spontaneously. As I mentioned in the last class, auto ignition temperature. Whenever these chemicals reaches the auto ignition temperatures, they automatically ignite. And some of them are water resistant. I can say other way of telling is not environmental friendly, in the sense if they come across with the atmospheric conditions also, with the moisture which is there in the atmosphere, they will try to react and get exploded. The handling and storage of various flammable solids, apart from taking normal precautions, and additional precautions will be have to be taken to guard against the hazards posed due to the conditions, and also the circumstances under flammable materials may become severe fires. So apart from this, we should take the additional precautions to guard against the hazard posed due to the conditions. So what hazard will be there? Fire hazard. We should have proper control mechanism in place to, in case of any fire happens or fire accident occurs, so that we can safeguard these materials. Now, if you see some of the examples, bales of cotton or jute, these are some of the solid materials which are easily ignited with the ignition source, and the fire initially flashes over the fibers and the surfaces, then travels at the slower rate between the bales into an individual bales. And the ignition source may be electricity, mechanical spark, smoking, matches, etc. And bale should be protected from the such surfaces. So if we take it as cotton bales, అంటే కాటన్ యొక్క బేల్స్ మనం ఏమంటాము, పత్తి కట్టలు లేదంటే జూట్ బ్యాగ్స్ లేదంటే జూట్ అంటే వాటిని బండిల్స్ లాగా పేర్చింది. సో దీనివల్ల మనకు ప్రమాదం ఏంటి, whenever any ignition source, any short circuit happens or any mechanical spark happens between the mechanical equipments, if the lubrication is not properly done, if the misalignment between the mechanical parts, then there is a chance of mechanical spark. And somebody smoking or matches, there will be a chance of fire accident. So, as a control, we should keep away from bales from all these surfaces. Then electrical wiring in a warehouse for the bales should be installed in a rigid metal conduits for the protection against mechanical damage. And spark producing electrical equipments, including switches, fuses, and circuit breakers, should be in dust tight enclosures. So, as we seen in previously, this N type, P type, pressurized type, and all electrical fittings, those kind of fittings has to be considered. And warehouse to be a non-combustible construction with the floors and sloping prevent accumulation of water, and pile sizes to be not too large, and about 3 meters, and wide aisle spaces to be maintained between piles. The here thing is, we should have proper electrical systems in place. The construction of the warehouse should be non-combustible, including flooring. We should have proper sloping in the flooring to avoid the accumulation of water inside the floor. And also the bale's height, it should not go beyond the 3 meters, and also about 3 meters, and wide aisles. Aisle means pathways. We should have proper pathways in place, so that what will happen in case of any fire incident happens, so that the people can go and fight against the fire. If the bale of jute of at least 1 meter wide space should be left along the walls, and also the bales for the other fibers also. So it is about the, not about only the cotton bales, whatever the combustible materials you are storing in a warehouse, you should keep at least 1 meter away from the walls, because in the walls only we'll have all these switches, controls, everything, even the firefighting equipments and the fire hydrant line will be have in the wall side. So if we have this space, what will happen? We could able to utilize those equipments to extinguish the fire. అంటే ఈ 1 meter distance అనేది గోడల దగ్గర నుంచి పెట్టడం వల్ల మనకి ఫైర్ ఫైటింగ్ ఎక్విప్మెంట్స్ అన్ని కూడాను అరౌండ్ ద బిల్డింగ్ ఉంటాయి, కాబట్టి మనకి ఈజీగా మనం దాన్ని యూజ్ చేసుకొని ఫైర్ ని కంట్రోల్ చేయొచ్చు. అట్లీస్ట్ 0.8 meters wide gap is to be left, and the height of the pile should be limited, taking into account the floor loading capacity and the weight of the bales when soaked with the water. In any case, at least 1 meter head clearance is to be maintained between the top of the piles and also the deflectors or the sprinklers. So it is also a 1 meter clearance from the sprinklers. If you are having sprinkler system in your warehouse, you are storing your meter very close to the sprinklers, so it will not function effectively. So you should maintain at least 1 meter gap between the sprinklers so that it can able to extinguish. Bituminous coal, this is also one of the flammable solid. So these are liable to spontaneous combustion. It absorbs the oxygen from the air, and this absorption is more rapid when the coal is in freshly mined or contains much fine dust. So the bituminous coal, it is a coal. It will have more tendency to absorb oxygen from the atmosphere. And moisture adds oxidation, and coal should not be stored in contact with the surface of any external heat or over the trenches and the manhole covers, and also similar surfaces which may allow a movement of air through piles. In adds and piles, height to be limited to the 3 meters. So it should not be stored with any surfaces of any external heat. Wherever the external heat sources, there it should not be stored. And also the piles are limited to the 3 meters height and grade coal of 5 mm with a best grade coal. And where the bins are used for the storage, or these should be a non-combustible materials with a structure of roof over to protect the coal from rain. And the space above the coal should have adequate ventilation to prevent the concentration of the gases given off by the coal. So we have to maintain the space above the coal for the adequate ventilation. So if we are storing the coal in any shady places, we should not fill the coal till the roof level. We should get the proper ventilation to escape the gases which are generated. Then calcium carbide and alkalis metals is also one of the solids when contact with the water liberate the flammable gases. In some cases, the gases released by maybe ignite from the heat of reaction. These metals are to be packed in an airtight containers and stored in a dry, cool, and well-ventilated buildings and the non-combustibles or fire-resistant construction. And they should be prepared from combustible oxidizing agents and also mineral acids. So these are the water reactive materials. Now we'll see handling of corrosives. We have seen the flammable gases and the flammable solids. We'll see how we can handle corrosive chemicals. Corrosives are simply, we can say, acids. So these corrosive chemicals will give a severe damage when in contact with the living tissues in case of any leakage or ill materiality damage, or even destroy the surroundings they come in contact with. It is likely to cause a fire when in contact with organic matter or any certain chemicals. Basically, what will happen is the corrosives, it will damage the living tissues or the structure of the material. Basically, I can say it will damage the structure of the material. If you see a corrosive chemical will cause severe damage when in contact, and also it will damage the structure of the material. And it will also causes fire when it is contact with organic matter or any other chemicals. These certain corrosive substances have a more serious hazardous properties like toxicity or flammability, and are commonly classed as toxic or flammable, etc., rather than the corrosives. So few chemicals have multiple hazards, like as a human will have multiple skills or certifications. The similar way, it also have multiple hazards. One chemical can have a hazard of corrosives or toxic or any other hazard as well. The important corrosive substances are acids and anhydrous alkalis, halogens or halogen salts, or organic halides, carbonic acid halides, esters, and salts. These are the few examples for corrosive substances. If you see in any chemical or corrosive chemical in contact with human tissues, what will happen? Most substances will produce chemical burns with certain other substances, as a chromic acid produces deep ulceration, and many corrosive substances have defeating action on skin and also may cause dermatitis. To damage the skin, it leads to skin dermatitis like itching or any allergy. And some of the chemicals, the chromic acid kind of thing, what will happen? Deep ulceration. So the damage in deep into our skin or the cells. So how we can protect ourselves and also our property from these chemicals is preventing or minimizing contact between corrosive substances and also skin, mucous membranes and eyes. Mucous membranes means the spaces which are very sensitive. We should control in contact. Then corrosive substance should not be allowed to come in contact with materials that may react. It's also important that it should not be allowed to come in contact with the materials where it will react, which means incompatible materials. You should not allow them to store with the incompatible material. Then all other containers, pipes and apparatus, installations and structures used for the manufacturing, storage, transport or use of these substances may be protected by suitable coatings, impervious to and also and unaffected by the corrosives. So the containers and pipes which is installed may be protected by suitable coatings so that we can protect from the any leakages if it any happens. Then all containers or receptacles, which are nothing but containers, should be clearly labeled to indicate their contents and should be a bare and also danger symbol for corrosives. So some of the corrosives, it's look like in a water. So whatever the containers which we are using for handling of these corrosive chemicals, we should be marked with the danger so that we can avoid the hazards. And a high standard of maintenance and good housekeeping is essential, and adequate ventilation and exhaust arrangements, whether general or local, should be provided, whether corrosive, toxic gases or any dust are present. So it is also required that proper ventilation requirements is also to be maintained in case of any leakage happens in the premises. Now, other question. I'll have a question. For example, if you see this in the right side, we have an eye wash and body wash shower. Most of the chemical industries have these kind of setups to handle or to protect from the accidental spillage on the humans. So what is the temperature of the water we are supposed to maintain as per the IS standards? Just do Google it. Meanwhile, we'll continue. Okay, it is also very important. If the water is coming at very high temperature, maybe with the temperature also, some of the chemicals may react, or he can't able to use such a hot condition of water into their eyes. So it is also very important. Just do a Google or you can search, you can put in chat box. Okay. Apart from other containers and spillages, control, housekeeping, coatings and keeping away from the combustible materials, we should also have proper personal protective devices. Should be depending on the nature of the work hazard. Corrosive resistance or impervious suits any other hand gloves, respirators, or any barrier creams, etc., etc. Okay. Apart from this, when your exposed is not severe, so what can be done? If the exposure is not severe, so what we can do? The first aid treatment facilities should be provided, and all the concerned should be instructed to follow a safe practices such as prolonged washing with the water and removing contaminated clothing, and seeking immediate medical help, and safety showers and also eye washes should be provided. The safety shower and eye wash should be provided so that in case of any accidental spillage to protect ourselves from the chemical. Now we'll talk about the safe storage and handling of gas cylinders. There initially we have seen the basics. We'll see more in deep with respect to the handling. We see in the factories, we find use of gas cylinders, basically oxygen, nitrogen, ethylene, LPG, CO2, chlorine, and sulfur dioxide, etc. These are filled under pressure, as we know. Therefore, when they leak, they come out with a force and pose hazards of fire, explosion, or toxicity based on the chemical which is inside the cylinder. If it is a flammable gas, it will result in a fire. If it is pressurized, it may explode. If it is in a toxic, it releases, it will become toxicity. So we'll get heart, breathing, suffocation, etc. So therefore, some rules to be observed while handling of those cylinders. And following Indian standards, we use understanding of design, construction, fitting, and testing, and also safe devices, the valves, and also use of the gas cylinders. So here I have attached a few Indian standards or the requirements which are specified by the Bureau of Indian Standards for various parts of the gas cylinder. So we will refer this there so that you will have more understanding about those parts. So first verify the marking number and also a company, pressure, weight, capacity, and also date of the cylinder before their use. So we have to check for if you are using any cylinder, we have to look for marking on the cylinder. Is there any marking is there or not? From where it is there? This is made as per the Indian standards or not? Which company it is made? What is the pressure it can hold and weight of the cylinder? What is the capacity of the cylinder? Also date of refill. The cylinder should be handled in a especially trolleyed or gently or rolled on its bottom edges, but not on the whole surface. So it can be rolled on the bottom edges. So that be shifting from one place to other place, and it should not be thrown or subjected to undue force or damage. And lifting machinery or magnet should not be used to lift them. And while carrying the chlorine tunnel in the heavy cylinders in a forklift, it should be tied with a chain to prevent the rolling. If you're using any forklift for handling of cylinders, so it should be properly tied off. And if you see the long vertical cylinders should be kept in upright, in stand or any tied with a chain to prevent the falling. And no flammable material should be allowed nearby or source of ignition. And spark or flame, electricity, molten metals, etc. must be kept away from that. And also cylinder should not be used as an earthing, and it should be protected from excessive heat, cold, and also dampness, and also corrosive chemicals. It will also be protected from the external hazards and external environment to avoid the accidents. When not in use, the valve should be kept closed and also covered with a cap. If the valve is leaking, it should be repaired by an expert or any trained man. Otherwise, the cylinder should be shifted in a remote open ground. If you are not able to control the leakage, then you shift it to the open area so that it will dilute. Then pressure regulator and a double regulator for the pressure above 800 psi. The pressure gauge and also non-returning valves should be installed, and it should be maintained in a good working order. And special spanners may be used to close or open the valve, and keeping the thread direction is in mind. And the spanner should be kept nearby, so that in case of any emergency, so we can act quickly and we can close the valves. Grease or lubricating oil should not be applied on the valves or any other oxygen cylinders. And a storeroom of a gas cylinders should be well ventilated, filled, and empty cylinders should be kept separate. Construction should be fireproof and also flammable. Cylinders are to be stored. So this is about the storage area. It should be well ventilated. It should be a non-combustible material and also fireproof. And before testing a cylinder, it should be carefully depressurized, and the valves should not be interchanged. So when you're doing any depressurization, it should be depressurized, and also valve should not be interchanged. We should not change the valve for one cylinder to other cylinders. We should not change. And the pipeline connected with the cylinders should be kept according to the pressure and also type of the gas. So pipeline in the sense, most of the companies, they have manifolds. So they'll keep 5-6 cylinders together, and they will construct a manifold. And a flexible plastic pipe and also toxic for any highly flammable or explosive gases should be avoided or tightened properly and replaced in time. And one worker died on the spot due to the explosion when hydrogen gas is leaked from the joint of any plastic pipe. So the valve should be opened gently and also only as per the requirement. In case of sudden release or any leakages also, it leads to a major accident. So we should open the valves very gently, which means slowly. And this leakage of any flammable gas may be checked by a soap solution or any air bubbles, not by any naked flame or any lighter. And ammonia by sulfur dioxide and also chlorine by ammonium, ammonium water, and their bottles as we called as a torch should be kept ready, and no leakage should be checked by any nose. So we should not use our senses for detecting any leakage of the gas. So we should use such kind of torches for detection of leakages. And the quantity of the cylinders should be restricted. If the toxic and flammable cylinders are kept in the same